There are a few fundamental ways that you can grow your book of business or specific accounts. And in this video, we'll cover how to implement all three strategies to book more loads now. I'm Benjamin Kowalski with Freight 360, where we provide the latest transportation sales tips and training videos to help you reach your goals faster. And if you're a fan of the content, please support us by smashing that like button and sharing us with all of your coworkers and colleagues. You should be evaluating your existing customers a few times a year. And if you haven't done this all year, now's a great time to implement this. Many of the shippers do end of year inventory and will slow down for the holidays. And this is a great time for you to put all of what we're discussing in place. The first things you'll be evaluating are the most obvious: load count, average margin percentages, and your average dollar margins per load. Some of the less obvious are quantifying the amount of hours you and your team spend on customers' freight. Now, this is probably not something you have any data or info on right now, but you will want to spend some time trying to get an estimate of it. For instance, take a look at maybe the next few weeks. Jot down on a spreadsheet or even just a notebook for now the number of issues you have to resolve for each customer, the amount of incorrect load details, or the amounts of you need to correct on BOLs or whatever those issues are, right? Then you can also add in some more of the subjective details, such as the amount of your team's issues related to this customer. And then you're going to want, again, all of this information in one place. This is going to make it so much easier for you to get a visual of what each customer is providing to your brokerage. It's also going to give you a picture of the quantity of the issues and time this customer requires to earn that profit. Now, we want to build out a simple model that provides a sort of dashboard for your brokerage. Our goal is to be able to look at the input or profit this customer brings to your business along with the cost to your business. And this is going to give you an unemotional look at what each is worth to you and your brokerage. That's our starting point. It's also going to provide a lot more strategic value for you down the road as time passes. Next, we're going to discuss how to determine if there's potential to increase those accounts. And the next two strategies are growing laterally, meaning growing this in the number of points of contact at that organization. And secondly, penetrating the account with deeper relationships and more of them. But before we can implement them, let's talk about what we need to find out. First, we can't really determine whether there is room to grow an account laterally until we know how wide the company is. Here's what we mean by that. If you have a smaller shipper and there are only maybe 2 people in the transportation department and you've been working with them for the better part of a decade, probably not much room to grow the number of people you're working with. Now, on the other hand, if you're working with a medium-sized shipper that maybe has 5 locations and 50 logistics personnel, and you've only been working with them, that same one person, right, has been tendering you loads all year, there's plenty of room to grow those relationships laterally. Think of it like this. If you're working with one person, you need to introduce yourself to one up and one over in the next few weeks. Meaning, connect with their manager and you can review your company's performance with them, how your on-time percentages has been all year. And you can introduce yourself to one of their coworkers, right? One up, one over. This is a process that should be evaluated and done often throughout the year, not just at the end of the year. But if you've never started it, now's a great time. Now, how do we penetrate an account further and do more with them than we already are? Well, it's the same as above. We can't know where to go until we know where we're starting. So the first step is to build out a simple model or spreadsheet that has all of your customers again, usually the same one we've already started with. But what we're gonna add now are every one of their locations and every point of contact we can find. So if you're currently working with a company that has multiple locations, that's the lowest hanging fruit for you. Getting a referral from one of your customers into another one of their locations is very easy to accomplish. You can simply ask, hey, Jimmy, what are the other branches you work with most often, right? And then simply ask to be introduced through an email. If you've built a rapport and you've been doing a great job with their freight all year, most shipping clerks are more than happy to refer you to their colleagues. The number one reason salespeople don't get more referrals is because they simply don't ask. They're either scared of rejection or feel like they're imposing on their current relationships. That's all just fear, folks. Think about it. When you've got a great provider of anything, whether it's the kid who cuts your grass or your kid's pediatrician, aren't you excited to pass that benefit on to your friends and coworkers? It's no different here. Okay, so to recap, we need to know what each customer is worth to us. And it's not just looking at the numbers and margin dollars. Many of your least profitable customers will require the most amount of hours. Think of the 80-20 rule. 80% of your profit is usually earned from 20% of your customers. And we don't want to spend our time increasing the least valuable types of customers or shippers. Secondly, we're going to determine our ability to grow our relationships laterally or horizontally, meaning introduce yourself to more points of contacts or more of your point of contact's colleagues and coworkers, right? Also their managers and their subordinates, the people that work above them and one down below them. Because the more you are working, the more people you're working with over there, the more likely they are to give you additional work. Plus, it has the added benefit of reducing the likelihood or risk that you'll get booted if the person you're working with takes another job, leaves the company, or is just no longer there. And thirdly, to determine how much deeper of a relationship you can have with your customers. If you're only moving a small percentage of their freight out of maybe 10 locations, there's plenty of room to grow that over the next weeks, months, and coming years. For more tips and training, be sure to watch our weekly podcast on our channel and check out the description links below for group and private coaching. Because remember, whether you believe you can or believe you can't, you're right.